So, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Julio Petrovich, Product Manager for NetAlly. And today I'm proud to announce the first release of the AirMagnet software from NetAlly. So, yep, after a few years and a lack of investment from previous owners, NetAlly is bringing AirMagnet back. And as you guys may have known or may know already, last week we released multiple AirMagnet updates. They're out there for multiple products. Still, you may be wondering what's new? What did we include on those updates? Not only that, you may also be wondering, besides the new stuff, um, what's next? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get started here pretty quickly. Um, Even before we start, one thing that's very important. We want to thank you all for joining us today. This is the first AirMagnet release from NetAlly. As you guys know, NetAlly is a fairly new company. We just started like last October. So to celebrate the excitement of this first AirMagnet release from NetAlly, at the end of the session, we'll be giving out a free test accessory, or we'll be raffling a free test accessory. Notice that you need to be here till the end of the presentation, and you need to be present on the presentation to win the test accessory. So thank you again for being with us here. Free test accessory will be going out at the end of the presentation for one lucky attendee. Okie doke. So now that that's out of the way, what are we going to talk about today? First, we'll start talking about the new releases that came out last week. So what product were updated as part of this first AirMagnet release from NetAlly? Second, we'll be answering or showing you what's new. So we'll go through some of the features, or most of the features, or basically all the features that we added. We'll also answer some common questions. So I know you guys will have questions after we go through the new features that were added to the software. So I put together a list of answers to the most common questions I'm sure you will have. After that, we'll do a live demo. So yep, it's not only slideware, we're doing a live demonstration of the new features, and I'll show you how they work. Next, we'll be seeing what's next. So technically, we'll be talking about what's coming up next on AirMagnet, what's our roadmap. And then after that, some of you may have heard about a new product or solution that we're basically releasing today called AirMapper. So we'll talk a little about AirMapper. We'll share with you what is AirMapper. I'll show you how it looks like and how it works. So we'll do a live demonstration of AirMapper. And then after that, we'll have a QA session where you guys will be able to type your questions on the chat, and I'll answer those. Notice that you don't have to wait till the end to type the questions. So if you have questions, just so to make sure you won't forget, feel free to type them on the questions section. And when we get to the QA session, I'll go through those and answer those questions for you. Okie doke. So let's get started here with the presentation itself, or what's new. So on April 14th, 2020, we released multiple software updates. And there's a lot of stuff that got updated. First, we got Survey Pro version 9.3. We also have Survey Express version 9.3. We released Survey On Demand version 9.3. Just in case, for those that are not very familiar with this product, Survey on demand is like a rental option. So you have the option of just renting short-term licenses that you can use as needed. Survey Mobile, which is the Android app, version 1.1.2 was also released. The Planner, of course, version 9.3. We also have a Spectrum XT version 3.10. And we have Wi-Fi Analyzer version 11.3.2. If you're wondering how you can get a copy of the new software, everything is available at airmagnet.netally.com. Notice very important here that this is the new AirMagnet server from NetAlly. The new software will not be available on the old server. So make sure you have the correct URL when trying to download the new software. It's airmagnet.netally.com. Okie doke. So now that you know what was released, let's talk a little about what's new. And for today, we'll focus more on the survey solutions. So Survey Pro, Survey Express, Survey on Demand, and the Planner. And we'll show you the different enhancements that were made to the product. First, a quick overview of and then we'll go into the details pretty quickly. So first, we added Wi-Fi 6 survey support. So yep, now you'll be able to go and do a Wi-Fi 6 survey, and we'll cover the details in a moment on how that works. We also added iPerf 3 and Test Accessory support. And this is very important here, guys, because one of the main reasons a lot of people don't like doing iPerf surveys is that it's a pain to set up an iPerf server. You have to go and find a PC, laptop, tablet to install the server on. Then you have to configure it, etc. If you're not in charge of the network, you're just doing a survey for someone else, then you have to contact the local IT team and you have to ask for permission to install a server and so on. So a lot of people is like, ah, geez, let's not do it. Let's keep it simple. So adding support for the NetAlly test accessory is a big thing in here. As you guys may know, the NetAlly test accessory, which is this little guy here on the right side, is basically a pocket-sized iPerf server where you can just plug it in on any port on the network. It can be powered via PoE or batteries. And basically, you have an iPerf server ready to go. After that, you can just start your iPerf survey without having to worry about asking for permissions from the local IT team or having to worry about setting up or configuring your own iPerf server. So this simplifies that a lot. Another thing this highlights here, and this is pretty cool. In the past, you may have noticed that the AirMagnet and the handheld products were like separate. There was like no integration between the product lines in the past. But now, as part of NetAlly, one thing we want to do is take the best of both worlds and add integration between the product lines. So you'll be seeing more integration between the AirMagnet products and the handhelds like the Test Accessory, AirCheck, Etherscope, and so on. And we'll be talking more about that in a few moments. Next, as you may imagine, we had a fairly big backlog of antenna patterns. So we will be releasing a lot of them. So those of you that have been looking forward to new antenna patterns on the planner, it's been updated with a lot of them from different vendors. And I'll show you in a moment what those vendors are or who they are. We also added AP name support as transmitted on the beacons for extreme networks and mist. So if you have an extreme network, or if you have a mist systems network, then basically you'll be able to see the AP names if the APs are configured to transmit the names on the beacons. So we're adding support for more vendors. So you'll be able now to see those names, and it'll be easier to identify which AP is which. A very important note then on the bottom there. These improvements apply to all the versions of the AirMagnet Survey Planner products. So for example, if you have a Survey Express now supports Wi-Fi 6. Survey Express will also support the AP names for Extreme and Mist. If you have Survey On Demand, then now you have Wi-Fi 6 support, you have the iPerf 3 and Test Accessory support, and you have, of course, the AP name support too. And if you just have the planner by itself, then you have all the antenna patterns included. So depending on the product and the capabilities or feature set of that product, the updates here will apply to all those products. Okie doke. So let's go into more detail about the features or enhancements we've done. And after that, I'll show you live how they look. So first, Wi-Fi 6 support. And there's a lot of stuff here. As you may imagine, the Wi-Fi type or technology is highlighted through the survey product in multiple areas. I will start first with the basics though. So with this update, you will now be able to use a Wi-Fi 6 adapter to perform active, passive, or hyper surveys. Yes, I do understand that there's not a lot of Wi-Fi 6 adapters out there yet. Still, if you have one, let's say, for example, the Intel AX200, which is an internal one, you can use it to perform a survey now. Preferred adapters can now also be used to perform active, passive, or iPerf Wi-Fi 6 surveys. So yes, even though the preferred adapters are still Wi-Fi 5 or AC, mostly because there's no Wi-Fi 6 adapters out there yet, basically you can use them to perform active, passive, or iPerf Wi-Fi 6 surveys. So notice that even if you have one of the older Proxim 8494 adapters, which is an Wi-Fi 4 or 802.11n adapter, you will be able to use that one to perform a Wi-Fi 6 survey. Of course, something that you may have noticed here on the screen is that now there's a new icon for Wi-Fi 6 or AX. So you'll be able to identify if an access point supports Wi-Fi 6 or not. You will also see the new modulation and coding scheme values or MCS values. So you'll be able to see MCS 10 and MCS 11. And if the access points on your network have those capabilities or support those higher modulation and coding schemes. Besides that, as you guys know, the operating mode for AX is different. It's what's called high efficiency or HE. So you'll be able to identify any access points that are working on that mode, which technically means they're Wi-Fi 6 or supporting Wi-Fi 6. We also have support for the higher data rates that can be achieved with Wi-Fi 6. One thing that we added that it's been out for a while and it was part of Wi-Fi 5 Wave 2 is 160 megahertz channel width support. So that's now included in here. And of course, and we'll be seeing this on the live demonstration here in a few moments, we added Wi-Fi 6 support through all the different tools on this on survey, like the simulation, multi-view, diff view, the Airwise engine, and of course the reports. So you'll be able now to perform Wi-Fi 6 surveys using a Wi-Fi 6 adapter if you want, using your current adapter if you prefer, or you'll be able to basically gain all that extra visibility when surveying new Wi-Fi 6 networks. The other thing, or the other big thing that we added is iPerf 3. So, and like I mentioned, there's two parts here. There's the iPerf 3 support, and of course, that allows us also to support the NetAlly Test Accessory. And the way we did it is that now we give you two options. You have the option of using iPerf 2. So if you prefer to use iPerf 2, you can still do that. Or you have the option of using iPerf 3. I'll show you on the demo how that looks like, but basically it'll be a little drop down that allows you to select between iPerf 2 or iPerf 3. Notice that, like I mentioned, you will be able to perform an iPerf 3 survey against your own iPerf 3 server or the NetAlly Test Accessory, which if you ask me personally, I think is a lot more convenient, but it's up to your preference. You also have an updated legend. Notice that with the higher data rates, modulation encoding schemes, number of streams, etc., now there's a potential for higher throughputs. So the legend for the throughput heat map has been updated to support the higher throughputs that can be achieved using Wi-Fi 6. And again, we'll show you all this live in a few moments. We also talked about antenna patterns, and there's a lot of them. If I had to include the entire list in here, it will take a few slides. So to make it simple, guys, basically here's a list of the vendors for which we added new antenna patterns. And a complete list of the antenna patterns can be found on the release notes. So feel free to go to netally.com. On our support page, you'll be able to download the release notes. They're also available on the software itself or under AirMagnet. And you'll be able to see the entire list of antenna patterns, a very long list. Just for you now, here's all the vendors for which we added new antenna patterns. So if you were looking for antenna patterns for one of these vendors that were not available on previous versions of the software, there's a high possibility they're now there. So check them out. We already also talked about AP names for extreme networks and missed systems. So that's also been added here. So now you'll be able to see the AP name for these devices or these access points, for example here, or down when you're looking at the details for each BSSID, you'll be able to see the AP name too. Okie doke. So that was a quick overview of the features we've added on the survey tool. And I'll show you live again in a few moments how this looks and how they work. Before I do that though, some of you may have questions. So we'll be answering those questions. I'll be answering some of the most common questions now. And then at the end of the session, we'll answer any other questions you may have. So first question, where can you download the software from? So I think I already mentioned this, but to download the new version of the software, you'll have to go to airmagnet.netally.com. Okay, notice that this is not the same URL as that we had in the past. This is the URL changed, so make sure you're using the correct URL. The software will not be available on the old URL, which may still be around. So airmagnet.netally.com. You'll be able to log into the new My AirMagnet portal. It looks something like this. So if you see NetAlly on My AirMagnet, then you know you're in the right place. Quick reminder, remember that you will need an Ally Care support contract to be able to download the new versions of the software. Another question you may be asking, and I think I already covered part of this, is what about a new Wi-Fi 6 preferred adapter? So as many of you guys may know, at this time, there's really not a lot of Wi-Fi 6 client adapters out there. There's lots of access points, But clients, there's maybe the iPhone, there's the Samsung S10s, and I think the S20 now. Um, and there's the Intel AX200, which is the only Windows-based one that I'm aware of at this time. And sure, more adapters will come out in the future, but there's really not a lot yet. So because of that, we don't have a native Wi-Fi 6 adapter yet. Still, if you're going to perform a Wi-Fi 6 survey, you may not need a Wi-Fi 6 native adapter. Same as other products on the market, you still will be able to use your Wi-Fi 5 adapter to perform a Wi-Fi 6 survey. So for example, I think I mentioned this earlier, you'll be able to use the preferred adapters. So for here we have a little screenshot of the NetAlly D1080. And even though the NetAlly D1080, for example, is a Wi-Fi 5 adapter, you will be able to use it to perform a Wi-Fi 6 passive survey. You can also use it to perform an active or iPerf survey. Of course, as other native AX adapters come out, you'll be able to use those. I think I mentioned the Intel AX200 already. If any others come out on the market, you should be able to use those too. As some of you may remember, some time ago, we removed the limitation of using specific adapters. So Base Survey Pro will allow you to use any Wi-Fi adapter that you want. So basically, you can use any of the adapters that come out to perform your surveys if you want to, as they are released into the market. I think I heard, well, and that may change with the current worldwide health situation, but I think I heard that on Q3, we'll start seeing more AX client adapters on the market. Another common question you may have, will the new software be available for the OptiView XG? The answer is no. This AirMagnet mobile releases, including Survey, Spectrum XT, Wi-Fi Analyzer, will not be available on the OptiView XG. Reason for that, as you may imagine, the OptiView XG is not a NetAlly product. If you are interested, though, in knowing what the roadmap for that product is, please contact the vendor, and they should be able to provide you more information. Another question you may have is, when will noise and SNR measurements be brought back to AirMagnet survey? Well, we are currently working on a new solution, and well, technically, part of it is being released today. So keep watching this webinar, and you'll find out more about that new solution in a few moments. Okie doke. So now that we talked through the overview, let's go with the live demo on how all this looks like. So allow me here to escape from this. Let's minimize there. And we'll get back to this one a little later. Okay. So here we got the Survey Pro user interface. For this example, what I'll do is that I'll be doing two surveys at the same time. I'll be doing an active iPerf survey against a Wi-Fi 6 access point that I got here. I'll be using iPerf 3 and a test accessory as the iPerf server. At the same time, I'll also be doing a Spectrum survey using my Spectrum XT adapter. So before I show you a few things pretty quickly. So one of the first things you'll notice is that when running an iPerf server, you'll have two options now. You'll have iPerf 2 or iPerf 3. In this example, we'll do iPerf 3. You'll be able to put in the IP address of your server. So in this case, it's the IP address of my test accessory. If you go to advanced, Notice that the options in here will be slightly different for between iPerf 2 and iPerf 3. But same as before, you'll be able to select between TCP, UDP, uplink, downlink, and so on. So all those options will be available in here. Okie doke. So basically, after you set up the basics, just click on Start Survey. The survey tool will connect to the network that you want to use. In this case, my test network is called NetAlly AX demo. In this case, 5 gig. You'll be able to see the signal strength. Yeah, my test access point is just next to me here. That's why the signal is so strong. And you'll be able to see here the download throughput. In this case, it's not bad at all. It's almost, it varies between 550-ish, 600 something megabytes per second. So that's pretty decent. After that, of course, you just go through the normal process. And I'm sure everyone here is aware on how to perform a survey. So just go around, collecting your data, and just repeat. And so on you go until you complete the entire floor plan. For this example, I'll keep it simple. Let's say that we're done. At this time, you can save the results if you want. I already have a better example saved in here, so I'll show you that. Okie doke. So we'll go to display. I'll load my quick example here. So after you're done, let's say in this example that I just wanted to survey this cubicle area here because people have been complaining about slow speeds, let's say. So you'll be able to generate your heat maps. Notice that, as I mentioned earlier, now APs that support Wi-Fi 6 will be highlighted with a little icon saying AX. You'll also be able to go to the AP properties. You'll be able to see the media type, the operating mode, data rates, and so on for AX APs. Same as before, you'll be able to click anywhere, and you'll be able to see all the information for that access point. In this case, since it was an active survey, it's only one. Here on the upper right, well, you have all the different heat maps. You'll see now that there's an 802.11ax MCS heat maps. So you'll be able to see the MCSs, and allow me to load my legend here. You'll be able to see that MCS 10 and 11 are now available. So in this case, my access point supports MCS 11. On the throughput heat map, you'll be able to see now up to higher speeds. So in this case, I was on the 600 megabits per second range. You can see that in here. Again, you can click on any place on the floor plan and see more details if you want. Same thing applies to some of the other tools. So for example, let's say the diff view tool in here. Let's say that you had an old survey that you performed and using, let's say, Wi-Fi 5. Then you replaced the network recently, and now you want to see how the speeds compare. So you can select your new survey for the area that we selected. Then you'll be able to, let's say, look at your throughput here, for example. And you'll be able to see the difference, and definitely a big improvement on throughput here. You can see that now we have a lot higher throughput. And same thing applies to other heat maps that are available. On the Airwise engine, you'll also see now that the AX MCS index is now available. You'll also see the higher throughputs are available and so on. So you'll be able to use Airwise to validate if your Wi-Fi 6 network can support the higher throughput without having to go through all the details on the numbers and so on. And it's very similar for the multi-view, which, as you guys know, is used to see how a signal can propagate through multiple floors, simulation, and then, of course, the reports, where, let's say, select my example here. Yep, got the right one. You can, for example, select the iPerf survey report. And here now, you'll be able to see not only the AC and so on information, but you'll have the AX information available too. For example, you can see here on the table of contents that we have the AX MCSs now available in there. And the rest is very similar to what you've seen in the past. You have all the different heat maps now available. Same as before, you have the full control over how to quickly and easily customize the templates if you want to. So anyway, guys, that was a quick demo of some of the new features that we've added, like the iPerf 3 support. In this case, I was using my Test Accessory. We also have examples of how you can see Wi-Fi 6 networks, connect to a Wi-Fi 6 access point, do an active survey on it, and so on. Oh, a very important thing here, I almost forgot to mention. While doing a Wi-Fi 6 iPerf survey against a Test Accessory, one thing that's pretty cool about the Test Accessory that many of you guys may be aware of is that if you configure or claim the Test Accessory on Link Live, you'll be able to see the IP address of the Test Accessory. You can do that through your phone, tablet, basically anything with a browser, or you can have the Test Accessory send you an email. So it will automatically tell you what its IP address is, and you can configure that into the survey tool. So a pretty slick setup. Okie doke. So let's move on. And so now that you've seen some of the enhancements we made as part of this first AirMagnet release from NetAlly, you may be wondering what's next. Sure, it's cool. It's great that we have new updates. But after this, is there anything else coming out? And there indeed is. There is. And that's what we're currently calling AirMagnet Survey Pro V10. Notice that's the number I'm currently using, so that may change. But basically, on the next release, we'll be adding a few things. Number one, and we'll be seeing a quick example of this in a moment, is AirMapper support. So like I mentioned earlier, the AirMapper app is now available. It just got released today. And some of you may be like, what's AirMapper? And I'll be showing you in a moment what that is or how it works. But basically, it's a survey app that you can use on your Etherscope NXG at this time. And in the not so far or distant future, it will also be available on your AirCheck G2. And basically, it will allow you to perform a survey using the handheld itself. After that, you'll be able to export that information into Survey Pro to do your analysis. So you'll be able to generate your heat maps, reports, and so on from Survey Pro. And we'll come back to the AirMapper in a few moments. I'll provide more information or details, and I'll also show you how that looks like in a moment. But the idea here is that there will be no need to carry around a laptop anymore. No need to worry about dongles. And no need to worry about tethered devices hanging from your side with a USB cable and so on that could break, etc. So very cool setup. I'll show you in a moment how it works. But basically, you'll be able now to, or on the next release, to use the AirMapper app on your Etherscope or AirCheck, and then do your analysis on AirMagnet Survey Pro V10. Of course, as part of the next release, we'll also be including Wi-Fi 6 planning. So on this release that came out last week, we added Wi-Fi 6 survey support. On the next release, we'll be adding Wi-Fi 6 planning. Of course, as you may imagine, even though we released a lot of antenna patterns last week, people is already asking for new antenna patterns. So we'll be adding those. There will be more bug fixes and a few other things that we're still working on the planning phase. We're trying to decide, hey, what else can we do here? What else can we add? And if you guys have any feedback on enhancements that you would like to see, let us know, because we'll be we're currently working on that planning phase and to decide, hey, what else can we add to this next Survey Pro V10 release. So this is what's next. So now going back to the questions, or one question you guys may have is, what's AirMapper? So like I mentioned, the main idea is that on the next release, you'll be able to use AirMapper as a data collector. But what is it? So think of it, or at least we like to think of it, as a better way to survey your Wi-Fi. Like I mentioned earlier, basically with no need to risk your laptop, phone, or tablet. No need to worry about dongles if they support noise, SNR, yes or no. And no need to worry about tethered devices for which the USB port may break because of the cable that's hanging around, etc. Basically, a more simplified solution that will allow you to perform a survey in a faster, simpler, and easier way. Basically, it looks something like this, and I'll show you live in a few moments how it works. But starting today, the AirMapper app is available on the Etherscope NXG. So feel free to check it out and update your Etherscope as soon as you can. But basically, the app is now out. And like I mentioned, it will allow you to perform a survey using the handheld device itself. So you just import your floor plan. You'll be able to provide dimensions for your floor plan. After that, you'll be able to provide signal propagation. And then you just go around, and I'll show you in a moment how it works, and do your survey. Very straightforward, very simple. And again, this will also bring back noise and SNR measurements, since as you guys know, the Etherscope and the AirCheck on the next release, what we're calling V5, do support all those measurements: signal, noise, SNR, data rates, and a lot more, really. Also, another thing that's very important, and I'll show you this too today, is that not only will you be able to export your heat maps to Survey Pro in the future or on V10, right now, you'll be able to also upload those heat maps or that survey information to Link Live, and you'll be able to generate heat maps directly on Link Live. I'll show you how this works. But basically, this removes the need of worrying about, do I need a Windows laptop? Do I need to worry about iOS or Mac, etc.? Basically, any device with a web browser can be used to generate your heat maps and your reports through Link Live. And again, I'll show you in a moment how this looks, but it's a very quick and easy way of basically performing a survey now. So just walk around with your Etherscope or AirCheck later this year. Upload your data. It could be through the Wi-Fi network, through the Ethernet, and then from your phone, tablet, PC, or any other device with a web browser, you can go and review all the heat maps and reports. It's also pretty cool because you can have, for example, one person doing a survey on a remote site, just walking around collecting the data. They just upload the data from where they are, and then from the comfort of your office, home, or anywhere else you are, you can also take a look at generate all the heat maps. So we'll be looking at that. I'll show you how that looks like in a moment. And hey, if you're wondering, what do the experts think about this new AirMapper stuff? Here's some feedback. I won't read through all of it, but basically, some of the experts out in the market think this is pretty cool stuff. So I encourage you to check out the new AirMapper app on the Etherscope if you haven't. Again, it's available today for download. Okie doke. Oh yeah, I already mentioned that it's available now. Oh, also one important detail. The AirMapper app is part of the Etherscope version 1.2 release. So it's not only the AirMapper app, there's a lot of other stuff included in there. For today, though, we'll focus on the AirMapper app because we're talking more about surveying in here. But next week, we'll have a separate webinar on which we'll go through all the other features or enhancements that were included on the Etherscope version 1.2 release. So feel free to register for that one. We want to make sure not only that you see not only the AirMapper, but everything else we've included in there. Okie doke. So now moving on, let me show you how the AirMapper looks like. So one of the enhancements we added to version 1.2 of the Etherscope is Cloud Remote. So what I'm going to do here, and the way I'll be showing you my AirMapper on the Etherscope, is I'm going through Link Live, I'm going to remotely connect to my Etherscope. So there will be no need for a USB cable or an Ethernet cable or anything else. And there's no need for a VNC server either. Basically, just from your browser, your phone, tablet, etc., you can just click on Remote after selecting your Etherscope. And notice I have a lot of units in here, a lot of products. The first one on the top is my Etherscope. So I just select the Etherscope there, then click on Remote on the upper right. That will establish a connection to my Etherscope NXG. And now I have remote access to my Etherscope. And many of you may be familiar with the feature set of the Etherscope. Like I mentioned, we'll focus today on this new icon you can see here, which is the AirMapper. Notice that if you download the software and you don't see the icon up there, you can go to the apps on your Etherscope and you'll find it here, and then you can move it to the home screen if you want to. Okay, so how does it work? So basically, I just click on AirMapper. In this case, I already have a floor plan here, but allow me to show you how or what options are provided. So if I had no floor plan in there, you'll be able to create, let's call it a new project, where you can assign a name to that project. You can add a description if you want. After that, you'll be able to browse on the unit to find the floor plan. Notice that you can import the floor plan from a USB memory stick. You can email it to the unit if you want, or you can download it from any other service that you may have available. And then after it's on the unit, you can select it. And of course, you can select the or assign a signal propagation depending on your type of survey or the type of environment you will be surveying. Another thing you can do, notice that to make it easier, you can rotate the image in here. So if you want to rotate the image to make it easier, you can do that. And then, of course, you can just zoom in and out. Let's say, for example, in this case, just to keep it simple for today, I want to survey this cubicle area here. Notice, and you may have noticed this already, that this is the same floor plan I was using for my AirMagnet demonstration. So, and I'll be surveying the same area I surveyed with AirMagnet, but now with AirMapper. And it's pretty straightforward from here. Basically, you can click on Start. After that, you just go to wherever you want to start your survey. You guys are familiar on how to do a survey, so we'll then just tap. You'll notice this red circle. That means that the AirMapper app is scanning. So notice that one thing we did here to make it easier and give the end user more control is that we allow you to tap at any time or select at any time. So basically you tap, it's red, just wait. When it finishes, it will go green. Now you just move to the next place where you want to collect the data point. Just say here, wait, and so on, repeat. Basically, the idea is that now you don't have to worry about having to walk at a constant pace or going too fast or going too slow. Basically, you walk to the place you want, tap, wait a few seconds, then rinse and repeat. And so on you go until you complete your entire survey. So no need to worry about keeping a constant pace. No need to worry about, am I too fast, going too fast, going too slow? Did I give the unit enough time to scan through the channels? Basically, you have full control. Also, no need to worry about having to pause because basically you control where the data points are collected. So if someone wants to talk to you, you don't need to worry about having to pause the survey because it will start collecting data on the same place for X amount of minutes, etc. So a very simple user interface that anyone can use. Another advantage here you may notice is that you don't have to be on site to do the survey. You can have someone locally just walk around, and through the phone, you can tell them, yeah, go stand here, go stand there. And then from the comfort of your smartphone, tablet, PC, or whatever, then you can basically control the unit, take the data points, etc. So an easier way of surveying that not only makes it easier to do the survey, but also empowers you to do it remotely without having to be on site. So for this example, let's say that we're done here. Then when you're done, just click or tap where it says stop. Notice that if you need to take a break, you can come back later and resume. So let's say you did the survey here, and then you find out that you may want some more information about this area up here or this other cubicle area up here. Then you can come back later and just resume. Or you can now use this little icon here that looks like a cloud and upload your survey data to Link Live. Notice you can add any comments if you want. You can also save it, save locally. So now let me show you how it looks like on Link Live itself. So now that it's on Link Live, for those of you that are familiar with Link Live, you'll notice a new icon here on the left side of the screen called AirMapper. So just click in there. In here, you'll have the list of surveys that you've performed. For example, I have my demo 2 survey in here. So here on the upper right, I just click on View Survey. And you'll see my floor plan in there. And in a few seconds, it will also generate the heat map itself. For this example, I had enough time to walk all over the place. So I was able to generate a full heat map for you guys. Notice pretty quickly that you have the option of clicking or mousing over anywhere if you want, or you can click anywhere and you'll be able to see, in this case for it's a passive survey, so you'll see all the networks on that point where you clicked that with their SSIDs, BSSIDs, signal, noise, SNR, type of security, etc. So all the information you normally get from a survey is available. Of course, besides signal strength, you'll have other heat maps. So here on the upper left, you'll have a little drop down. So you can select, for example, noise. We'll give it a few seconds to refresh. And now you have the noise heat map in here. For this area where I did this survey, the noise levels are very low. You can also look at your SNR heat map if you want. And we'll give it a few moments to refresh. And here you have your SNR heat map. In this case, my SNR is fairly good. And since my noise levels are pretty low and my signal strength is pretty high. Of course, you have filters. So if you want to filter by, let's say, SSID, let's say I want to look at this one here. Click apply. And now after it finishes, you'll be able to see only the heat maps for that specific SSID that you selected. Notice that you can see up here if a filter has been enabled, you'll see a tag. And then you can select after that the band if you want. You can select specific channels if you prefer. BSSIDs, so there's 4 in this area for that network. APs, media type, a channel width, and so on. So all that will be is available in here. Pretty cool, pretty simple. And again, it removes the need of having to worry about a specific operating system. So you can do it all from a browser on the comfort of your home, office, and any other place. Oh, one thing that's very important here. You may be wondering if there is an extra cost for the Link Live or the AirMapper app. And the answer is no. The AirMapper app is part of the v1.2 update, so you can download it anytime. Link Live, as you guys, those of you that are familiar with it, is a free service. Still, one thing that's important here is that if you have an Ally Care support contract on your unit, you will get some extra capabilities. So for example, my unit has an Ally Care contract. So I'm able to see all the different heat maps. I have access to all the filters on Link Live. Notice that if you don't have an Ally Care contract, you still will be able to see some of the options. For example, you'll get access to the signal strength heat maps and the SSID filtering. So if you just want to validate coverage, then hey, that's part of the offering already there. But if you're interested and you want more than just that, like noise, SNR, and other advanced filtering tools, that will be included with your Ally Care support contract. Okay, guys. So there's a lot more, but again, that we'll be covering that next week on the Etherscope V1.2 webinar. For today, I just wanted to show you the AirMapper part. And like I mentioned, basically, how does this tie to AirMagnet? On the next release of AirMagnet, basically, not only will you be able to upload the heat maps to Link Live, but you'll also be able to export them into AirMagnet, and you'll be able to use AirMagnet basically as a viewer. So you'll be able to generate all the heat maps that you're familiar with on AirMagnet, now including noise and SNR again, since the unit or the Etherscope is capable of measuring those. And you'll have all the normal reports that you're familiar with, the template customization, and so on that's available on AirMagnet. Oh, which reminds me, you can also generate a report here on Link Live. So you can select any of the heat maps, add them to a report. You can see any of the heat maps you've added to a report, and then you can generate a PDF, which will be available under your files section on Link Live. So here on Link Live, as you guys may know, that's where you keep all your files, like packet captures, screenshots, photos from the camera on the Etherscope, just normal air check or Etherscope reports, and now you also have the AirMapper reports included in here. You can download them from Link Live, and then you can basically take a look at them on your browser or any other PDF viewer that you have available. Okie doke. So moving on, running a little short on time here, and I apologize for that. I just got a little excited there, showing you all that cool stuff. Okay, so reminder, I like hair. One, you get a lot of stuff with Ally Care, anything from technical support to access to the extra heat maps and filters on Link Live. You get the new, of course, AirMagnet software with your Ally support contract. You have all the training videos that are available, your Ally Care support contract, and more. So a quick reminder. Oh, another reminder before we move on to the Q&A session. We have a new promotion called Ally Rewards. Basically, anytime you buy a Link Runner G2 or AirCheck G2, you get a chance where basically you can get a free test accessory or a free Link Sprinter. So there's technically no limit. So if you buy, let's say, 2 air checks, then you can select 2 test accessories or 2 Link Sprinters on 1 test accessory and 1 Link Sprinter, and so on. So a little promotion. If you want more information, feel free to visit netally.com to see more about it. And now, guys, it's time to answer any questions. And I know we're running a little short on time, so I'll try to answer as many as I can. So let's see. Seems like there's a lot of questions here on the chat. Let's see if I can open them up in here. There we go. Okay, so there's a lot of questions here, guys. So let me see how many I can answer before the end of this session. I suspect some of them I may have answered already through the presentation. Others have been answered already by Dan Klimke. He's with us. He's Director of Product Management and has been helping answering some of the questions. Okie doke. So the first question we have here, let's see. So the first question is, if AirMagnet has gone away, are there any products that are intended to replace it or the features it provided? Well, this is an easy one. AirMagnet hasn't gone away, so it's still there. Notice though that we're adding or introducing new products like the AirMapper, which now includes survey capabilities from your handheld device. Also, those that are familiar with the Etherscope NXG may have noticed that a lot of the capability or functionality that's available on the AirMagnet Wi-Fi analyzer is also available on the Etherscope NXG, and some of it even on the AirCheck. So even though AirMagnet is not going away anytime soon, some of the other products or handheld products now have a lot of the same functionality. So like I mentioned earlier, it's more about integrating between the product lines and providing you as the end user multiple options. Next question. Can you go into detail about Wi-Fi 6 support? Is it just reading beacons, or can you look into things like OFDMA? That's a great question there. So it depends on the type of survey. If you're doing a passive survey, basically we're just looking at the beacons. Basically, we're just sniffing all the beacons in the air and taking that information to let you know, hey, this access point here or this BSSID there supports Wi-Fi 6, supports MCS 11, for example, and so on. When you're doing an active survey, it's a little different. In this case, you're actively connecting to the network. And basically, depending on the adapter's capabilities, will be the performance of that connection. So if you use, for example, a native Wi-Fi 6 adapter, which if you have one, you can use, then you'll be able to connect at Wi-Fi 6 data rates. If there is client or the adapter supports OFDMA and the AP supports OFDMA, you'll also be able to make the most out of that too. Regretfully, there's not a lot of Wi-Fi 6 clients out there yet, but as they come out, you'll be able to use them too. Okay, let's see what else hasn't been answered yet.
Hi, Julio. This is Dan.
Hey, Dan. Thank
Hey,
you for helping with the questions here.
sure thing. Happy to help. Lots of great questions today. Hey, one question just came in that I know that we've talked a lot about in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
the question is this. In the past, I was able to get noise and SNR using a D-Link or Proxim NIC. Those were
Mm-hmm.
802.11n based.
Mm-hmm.
Why and when did SNR and noise stop being reported in
Mm-hmm.
adapters like that?
That's a very good question. So it happened when 802.11ac or Wi-Fi 5 got introduced in the market. So even though many dongle vendors for Wi-Fi 5 or AC said, yeah, we support noise measurements, after a lot of testing, we noticed that many of those claims were not the best, since technically it wasn't the measurements were not very accurate. And and while really almost 2 years of researching different AC adapters, we couldn't find one that provided real accurate noise measurements that would be comparable to the accuracy we had with some of the older N adapters. Right now, we don't know what will happen with AX adapters uh, or Wi-Fi 6, since there's no dongles out there yet. Uh, we've been in contact with some of the vendors, and we know that in the future, some more of those dongles will be available. So at the time when they are available, we'll be looking at those and seeing if they can provide accurate noise measurements. Meanwhile, just to work around that limitation on the market itself and the availability of something we can use to provide real accurate measurements for you guys, that's where the AirMapper app comes in. So no need to worry about adapters anymore. We have a custom built uh, data collector that will provide all the information you need. Of course, if more AX or Wi-Fi 6 adapters come out later, we'll be looking at those too. We understand that some of you prefer that form factor, so we'll be researching as more of those adapters come in. We're hoping that with the technology change, vendors will have learned and will include noise and SNR measurements again that are accurate. Okie doke. So let's see. I hope that answered the question there.
Sounded
Meanwhile,
good. Hey, there's been a couple of questions that maybe you
mhm,
can address about
mhm,
the access to folks' licenses.
mhm,
Uh, maybe you can explain the difference between
mhm,
the prior AirMagnet, My AirMagnet site and the current My AirMagnet site and how people
mhm.
access their code.
Yep. So that's a very good question, and it relates to another question I saw here. So To answer the first licensing question I saw, the licensing model for AirMagnet hasn't changed. So you still will be able to share your licenses with your coworkers. So you can install the software on multiple laptops or tablets, and whoever has the adapter to which the MAC address was tied can use the software. So we're not limiting that. That will stay the same. As for downloading the new license or the new software, so when we separated from NetScout last year, as part of that transition, some of the AirMagnet products stayed with NetScout, and some of them, or most of them, moved to NetAlly. For example, some of the products that are not part of NetAlly, but were part of AirMagnet, are the AirMagnet Enterprise, which is the sensors with the server, etc., and the OptiView XG versions of AirMagnet. So because of that, NetScout kept their old My AirMagnet server. So that old My AirMagnet server is still out there. But now it only supports My AirMagnet and OptiView XG customers. If you own one of the NetAlly products, basically what we did is that we set up our own My AirMagnet server. We refresh it, so if you log in, you may notice some differences on the UI. And the software updates for the My AirMagnet products owned by NetAlly will only be available on that server. I know it's a little confusing because there's two My AirMagnet servers out there. If you're an OptiView or a Magnet Enterprise user, you need to go to the old NetScout My AirMagnet server. If you're an AirMagnet Mobile, Survey Pro on the laptop or tablet, Wi-Fi Analyzer, Spectrum XT, or all the other products, then you should use the NetAlly version of My AirMagnet. Again, it's airmagnet.netally.com. Okay, any other questions, Dan?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's quite a few questions. Maybe
Yes,
let's
indeed.
just, I think given the fact that we've run over time, let's talk about two things. One, we will be creating an FAQ document, I think,
Mhm,
based on the great number of questions that we've gotten here.
mhm.
And also maybe talk about the post-event survey that we're going to be sending to folks.
Yep. So, okay, guys. So regretfully, we're a little over time, but like Dan mentioned, we'll be getting back to you with answers on all the other questions. There's a lot of them, and we thank you for that. We want to thank you for joining us today. We hope this information was useful. I know we didn't have a chance to answer all the questions, but we'll be putting an FAQ or making an FAQ available with answers to all the questions that were asked today. And I hope you're as excited as us about this first AirMagnet release from NetAlly. We're already working on the next release. The AirMapper is now out, so check it out if you haven't. And well, thank you very much for your participation.